our final topic today, we're going to be discussing how to facilitate self-promotion and enhance your personal brand with Mary Shirley. Very happy to have you on the panel today, Mary. A little bit of background: Mary is a New Zealand qualified lawyer with extensive experience implementing, evaluating, and monitoring compliance programs for multinational corporations. So Mary is currently the global head of culture of integrity and compliance education at Fresenius Medical Care in Boston. Additionally, Mary co-hosts the Great Women in Compliance podcast with Lisa Fine. I do recommend that you check that out. And is also the co-author of the book, Sending the Elevator Back Down, What We've Learned from Great Women in Compliance. So Stephanie, I definitely want to dive into first the book that you did co-author. So can you tell us a little bit more about the concept of sending the elevator back down and what it means for women in particular?
Certainly. Thank you so much to you all for having me and for taking books to give away to some of the audience members today. It's so appreciated. And with that, I would say thank you for sending the elevator back down to me. The concept of it really is almost a societal balancing or karma. The idea that once you've reached a certain level of success, that you send the elevator back down and help others climb what can be, of course, a very interesting trajectory for our careers up a mountain, essentially. And why it's important for women in particular is that we know that women have been on the back foot largely for centuries compared with men. And one of the reasons why it's thought that we're still in that position is through the lack of mentors or visible women who are in senior level positions. So helping those and being a mentor is great to send the elevator back down to other women. And on the flip side, there is the idea of Queen Bee syndrome. And that is essentially the concept that it is thought, some psychologists have coined this term, sometimes women can be more harmful to other women in terms of career growth than they would be to men in the office. And so using a metaphor for that, it's like when some women reach the top, they take the ladder with them. And so that's why it's important for women in particular, I think, to be conscious of sending the elevator back down. And I would also make the point that it's not just when you reach the top. You can send the elevator back down no matter where you are. And a really beautiful example of this was just a few moments ago with Claudia saying that she saw Sarah Rose speaking on a panel, and she just had to introduce herself and tell her that she was phenomenal and then invite her to speak here. You know, in that situation, Claudia doesn't have to be the boss of Sarah Rose. She can just be anyone going about her business. You could be a new graduate. You could be a student listening to this right now and writing to one of these fabulous women that have been speaking today and telling them what struck a chord with you, what you learned from them, and just telling them that they are fabulous with their presence, their presentation skills, whatever it is. That's sending the elevator back down.
I absolutely love that. And I cannot wait to dive into that book. I'm very excited to read it. So moving on to the next point, women think of self-promotion as often being seen as a dirty type of word. Why would you encourage women to reframe this perception?
Yeah, so there is a statistic that the Harvard Business Review shone a light on, which is to do with the fact that typically men will self-promote about 30% more than equally qualified women. Now, that's not men undermining us. They're not doing anything wrong to us when they do that. And a very good day to all the gentlemen that have joined us today. Thank you for your allyship and wanting to further your own knowledge in this area. I really appreciate that. But we are doing ourselves a disservice if we're not self-promoting. And I think part of the ick factor with self-promotion is the idea that we tend to view others as being arrogant when they have the confidence to self-promote. So the reframing that I would ask you to think about to take place is remembering that when we build our brand, when we promote ourselves, it doesn't have to be, hey, look at this award I won. Although I would encourage you, if you've won an award, do shout that out from the rooftops, well done. But it's also things like talking about things that you have an interest in. Maybe there's a charity that you volunteer with. And so maybe this social media post that you talk about is not you saying, I'm so good and angelic and charitable and such a fabulous person, but just you talking about some of the work that you've done with this charity in and of itself shows and highlights what a giving and altruistic person that you are. So I would ask you to think about self-promotion not as being something icky that you do with the intentions of trampling over other people, but simply letting your self-branding be seen. And remember that when we're up for promotion, it's not just our direct boss that's involved in that process. Very oftentimes it's the boss above, and they need to know who you are in order to be able to support your boss saying, yeah, I think Mary should get this promotion or opportunity or whatever it is. So remember that we've been on the back foot for way too long. Men are not standing on our necks on this one. So step off your own neck, stand up and be counted.
That's great insight. Definitely resonated with me personally, and I'm sure the audience as well. I am not a self-promoter, so I really like to hear that. What's one low-hanging fruit action item women in compliance can do to further their personal brand?
Yeah, I have a little piece of homework for you to do, and this is from a lady who was a coach in this area. She very specifically coaches women in self-branding and self-promotion. Her name is Mel Stanley. She is a British national, and I'd encourage you to look her up and follow her for her tips. And she has an exercise in self-awareness, which is that when you want to self-promote, it really helps to know how you're seen in the first place, right? So some level setting and self-awareness. If I want to be seen in this way, how am I currently being perceived by those around me? So take a variety of stakeholders, and men, this is for you too, and ask them. I just did this by text message, and I sent them a message saying, I've just attended a personal branding workshop. What words come to mind for you when you think of my personal brand? And Mel Stanley, her questions for this are, what would you recommend that I start doing, stop doing, and continue doing, if you want to ask the question in a different way, to help gather some feedback. And then when you get this information back from people, and I caution you, not just the people that really love the heck out of you, but some of the more neutral stakeholders that you might work with, people that you maybe know from the gym or hobbies, and get them to comment as well. And it'll give you some nice patterns to take a look at. And as a bonus, this will be one of the most complimentary exercises you'll have ever done. And so if you're having a little bit of a moment of the blues right now, or your confidence could do with a boost, do this exercise, because you will feel so wrapped in love, even by people that you do not necessarily think have that much affection for you, because perhaps, it's someone that you don't know so well at work. You will be blown away by this. So really easy, free to do, and it'll be I'm not going to say life-changing, I probably wouldn't go that far, but it will really be something that helps you to think about how to further yourself and just feel wrapped in confidence and high self-esteem once you've done it.
No, that's great insight and information for the entire audience, especially me, myself. Thank you for that. I think we have time for your last question. So what are your tips for gaining exposure to facilitate self-promotion and display your personal brand on LinkedIn?
Yeah, so my quick and easy tip for you is do not hit the share button. I know it can be very tempting to see someone else's post go viral, see how popular it is. Oh, it's such a great point. Hit share. The problem with that, and we were talking about algorithms before, the LinkedIn algorithm deprioritizes when you hit the share button. And people also feel like they can't add their own personal flavor to it, or they don't, because someone else has already said it so nicely. I mean, that's how you used to persuade yourself that you weren't plagiarizing in high school, isn't it? When you were doing essays. Do not fall into that trap. Again, do not plagiarize. Let your own flavor shine through, your own thought leadership and expertise. If you are a little more junior or a little more shy at this point, and you're not quite ready to let that thought leadership get out there, or you're scared of trolls at this point, my tip for you is that instead of hitting share, take the original source, say it's an article that someone shared, take the original document, paste that, and then ideally add your own commentary and thought leadership to what you're sharing. But if you can't do that, take a quote that really hit you as you were reading it. You thought, yeah, that's really persuasive. And, you just do a little comment like, good food for thought, or wow, this really hit home for me. Something like that that's, very neutral, and you won't get trolled for it. And then build up. After that, build your confidence so that you're the one that's commenting and analyzing on these articles that you're sharing on LinkedIn. And the thing that you need to do is just get started. So start today.